What's going on, NBA fanatics? This is your friendly neighborhood Memphis Grizzlies, home of Memphis X, and I talk hoops. We continue with our prospect series called Should the Memphis Grizzlies Draft? And today we are asking the question, should the Memphis Grizzlies draft, pass, or laugh at Morez Johnson Jr. out of Michigan? Let's get into it. Before we go any further, please make sure you subscribe to this channel. I'm trying to get to 3,000 subscribers by the beginning of the next basketball season, and I need your help to get there. Thank you very much for clicking on this video.
Wait, I did come in for the 808. 808. Big man in the paint, iTalkHoops. Lay up, free throw and swoosh. Throw and swoosh.
Morez Johnson Jr. grew up in Illinois and came out of Thornton Township High School. He spent his freshman season at Illinois before transferring to Michigan for his sophomore year and winning a national championship on one of the greatest front lines in college basketball history. At Michigan, he played alongside Aday and Yaxel Lendeborg, two other first-round picks in the 2026 draft, and earned his minutes in that environment and made a statement that he also belonged in the first round of the 2026 NBA draft. He is 20 years old and a sophomore, and there is still a lot of basketball ahead of him. At Michigan, he played 40 games. That's damn near half an NBA season. He averaged 13.1 points, 7.3 rebounds, 1.2 assists, 0.7 steals, and 1.1 blocks per game in just 25 minutes. His shooting percentage was 67.7%, which is at the 98th percentile. On the offensive side, his offensive block plus minus was 5.7 for a 67th percentile, and his defensive block plus minus was 4.4, 86 percentile, which gives him a box plus minus of 10.1, which was the 88th percentile. His free throw percentage was 78.2% and is very pretty good for a big that you are looking for some type of shooting indicators. At the combine, he measured 6'9", even barefoot, which gives him an even 6'10.5" for playing height, 251 pounds, a wingspan of a great 7 feet 3.5 and 3.5 at a standing reach of 8'11". Now, the combine athleticism. Standing vertical, 33.5, 89th percentile. Max vertical, 39 inches, 92nd percentile. Lane agility, 10.59 seconds, 96th percentile. Sprint, 3.17 seconds, 86th percentile. Morez Johnson Jr. had great measurements and wonderful athletic indicators at the combine. And the thing about those athletic indicators, they popped off on tape. So it is not just some fake combine stuff where he's moving and jumping and all that, but it doesn't apply to the game. He shows it in the game. So what does Morez Johnson Jr. do well? First and foremost, the one thing, his calling card, is rebounding and interior presence. He controls the glass with strength, positioning, and effort. And even on a team with two other pro bigs, he made himself stand out. He uses his wide base to displace defenders, boxes out aggressively, and has the hands to corral anything near him. And he did it relentlessly on the offensive end, and he converts when he gets a hold of that ball. Secondly, rim finishing and efficiency. He knows exactly where his game is. He is not trying to do too much on offense. He stays around the rim, and when he's around the rim, he finishes above it and with strength and tenacity. He gets to the free throw line at a rate that tells you he is not dunking uncontested plays. He has good touch, the technique is real, and his 78% free throw shooting tells you that it is not just bully ball. Thirdly, athleticism and motor. At 251 pounds, he moves effortlessly. He runs the floor well in transition, and he gets back on defense. He fights for every board, whether the play is designed for him or not. The energy is not something that you coach into a player. He brings it every possession, and it pops off on tape. The motor is what makes everything else on the sheet possible. It is like the cherry on top of the measurements and the athleticism. The motor makes it work excellently. Now, as much as I love Morez Johnson Jr. as a player, there are some concerns. Offensive range and shooting. He takes almost nothing from the perimeter. Now, I have that listed as a concern, but in my book, everybody does not have to be a three-point shooter or even a mid-range shooter. Some guys can just get their Dennis Rodman on. His shot mechanics, a pushing over the head release, are going to require some real work to become reliable in the NBA if you really want him to be a floor spacer. Now, I think he works best in the dunker spot, and I don't think it is necessary for him to be some type of offensive option, which gets us to his second concern that doesn't really bother me, his offensive creation ceiling. He is not a short roll passer. He is not creating advantages for other teammates. He exists at the rim and does his best work there. He is a role player who knows his role. And in the modern NBA offense that values advantage creation out of the front court, his ceiling as an offensive player might be capped unless perimeter shooting and better passing develop. But who cares? And thirdly, defensive refinement. Now, as much as his hustle, his athleticism, and his measurements pop off on tape, he does have a tendency to jump at things he should not be jumping at. He has a slight discipline issue that a lot of young bigs have, but that is something that can be coached out at the NBA level. He can be exploited by some quicker players in space. The lateral mobility is better, but the lateral mobility is better than his size suggests. But switching onto guards and wings consistently will require a little bit more refinement. I mean, he has the tools. He has the wingspan, the athleticism, and the hustle. He just needs more reps and more discipline. So how does he fit in Memphis? Now, Morez Johnson Jr., and I'm telling you guys, for the guys that I'm talking about around the 16th pick, I'm assuming that the Grizz have taken Cam Boozer at 3. That's what all the mocks are saying. So with Morez Johnson Jr., I am assuming he is going to be a third big, somebody that can back up Cam Boozer and Zach Edey eventually and play with both of them effectively. And that is what it looks like he can do. Now, he might have to eventually get some range on his shot to play next to Zach Edey. But sometimes, and especially in the regular season, two big physical bigs on the inside can make a difference in the regular season. Now, the shooting, as I said, is a key development variable. All he has to do is get a credible corner three, and his game takes off. Now, he has some comps, and the most common comp I found for him is our good old friend, Kenneth Faried. Big, physical, motor-driven, above-the-rim rebounder who does not need the ball to impact the game. The difference between him and Faried is I think Morez Johnson has better defensive technique at a young age. It has a lot more to offer offensively, even if it's just finishing. Now, I don't ever like to put it, and you'll hear me say this always, I don't ever like to put a cap on a young player's game. So I will not cap what Morez Johnson Jr. can do. It says a lot that he went to the University of Michigan from Illinois to play on that front line, because it statistically could have hurt him if things did not go well. It could have been, you could have had some selfishness among the other two, and he could have been lost in the sauce. I mean, just be honest. You had a senior, a junior, and him, the sophomore. And the other two were way more decorated than him. So he could have got lost, but he was willing to sacrifice his game to get into a winning environment, and that says a lot about his future projection in the NBA. So what is the verdict? Should the Memphis Grizzlies draft Morez Johnson Jr.? I say yes. Yes, they should. They need to draft him. I've already done one video on him. He is the big, physical, athletic prototype that Zach Kleiman is looking for to create an identity with this team. If you have him, Boozer, Edey, and Said as your 4 core players moving forward, your team is going to do some damage to other opponents on the inside. For Memphis at 16, he is a no-brainer. The conversation gets to should they commit other resources to move up in the draft to make sure that they can acquire him, and I say yes. He does not need to be a build-around player, not even a starter. He can be a super role player. He does not need usage to contribute. He runs the floor, crashes the glass, and makes life easier for everyone around him. On a team like Memphis that is rebuilding and needs toughness and effort, this could do nothing but help. So I say draft him. Do what you can to get him. One of my favorite players in this draft cycle. But what do you think the Grizzlies should do? Should they pursue Morez Johnson Jr.? Should they do whatever it takes to get him on the roster? Or do you think there are better options and better uses of our resources in player acquisitions? I'm Memphis X, and I talk hoops. See you in the next episode.
I did coming for the 808. Big man in the paint, I talk hoops.